Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is your host, Dr. C from Where I Sit. Welcome back for another episode talking about your world around you. Um, Yesterday, we posted a couple of videos talking about how rental properties and subdivisions are popping up everywhere where they are trying to rent homes to people rather than trying to sell homes to people. So I thought that was interesting, and I hope that you took that information as to be interesting as well. And then, of course, we posted our video yesterday, or it's about 32 minutes long or so, talking about the economic blackout and why you should be participating in that and how to do so. But today, right now, we're going to give you a little bit more information about the economy. Now, a lot of what I am about to show you is going to be very technical. I'm going to take my time and explain the economics of what is happening in the country right now. We're going to share with you some historical data. Also, do not forget, I keep telling everyone to stop voting for Republicans. Voting for a Republican is like voting to commit suicide, okay? They don't do any good for everyday Americans. They just simply do not. And I have lots of evidence to share with you, historical evidence to share with you that proves that to be correct again and again and again. The Republicans destroy economies, whereas Democrats build economies up. Republicans basically usher in unemployment, recessions, and depressions and stuff like that. And Democrats are left to clean up the mess. Okay. And so my other appeal for this late afternoon's broadcast is to not only just inform you of who is better for us everyday Americans, right? And who is not. And so we're going to show you that information, and we're going to give you the evidence for so that you can make an informed decision. Now, the other thing that's important about what I'm talking about this afternoon is that yes, I keep hearing about these low propensity voters who are not engaged in the political process, like I am, and others like you who listen and watch this broadcast, who have subscribed to our channel, etc. The message that I'm giving this afternoon is for those low propensity voters who are not engaged until a major election rolls around. And even that's iffy, right? So I'm going to ask all of you who watch my videos, who tune in uh, to these broadcasts, is to please, please, please share this information with others you know who you might consider a low propensity activity voter. Okay. People who are not engaged, who do not vote. And if they do, they vote very seldom. And of course, they have a lot of complaints about what is happening with our government and our economy and their jobs that they're not getting or they're losing. But we also have to inform them to educate them as to the reason why these things are happening to them and what they can do to make their their life easier. I've said this again and again. The American people are largely responsible for their own fate. And the reason why I'm saying that is if you did not vote in 2024 and you are now complaining about all the stuff that's happening to you and your family and your friends, well, guess what? You are, to a certain degree, responsible for your own fate of what's happening to you right now. And the reason why is that you did not participate in the democratic process. You did not vote. And so all of this stuff that I'm going to be talking about this afternoon is a public appeal to you, that low propensity voter, to the appeal to you to start paying attention. My only job, as far as I'm concerned, and my purpose in life, also in service to you, is to educate you. Now, I will say this. I put up a lot of shorts, and the shorts are absolutely, they're much more popular than these longer videos. And I know, to a certain degree that the American people have a very short attention span. And I'm trying to hold your attention for about 30 to 45 to an hour in terms of your engagement with the videos that I'm posting. These PowerPoint presentations and these educational sessions are on YouTube, and they are going to be on there for a while, very long time. They'll probably still be there long after I'm done. I'm 67 years old. I still expect to be here for a really long time because I'm in pretty good health and I try to take care of myself as best I can. But these videos are always going to be available for you. So even if you don't engage with the information that I'm presenting to you right now, it is still going to be available to you later. Nonetheless, I still ask all of you who have subscribed to my channel, thank you. All of you who interact with me through the chat, thank you again. I ask you to engage with others that you might consider a low propensity voter and share this information with them. And so that's my public appeal. And without any further ado, we're going to get straight to the information that I want to share with you. All right, so let's get straight to it. Let's talk about jobs. And I don't know if any of you are aware of this, but we have lost over 1.1 million jobs this year since Trump took office. Trump took office in January of this year, and it is now November. We still got the rest of November and all of December to contend with, but we have lost nearly 1.1 million jobs this year so far. We've lost 150,000 plus jobs in terms of cuts in October, which is up 183% higher than September, which was the month before, and a 175% increase from October of 2024. These are also the most October job cuts since 2003. And again, like I said, over 1 million jobs lost so far this year. And this information comes from Challenger Gray and Christmas. It is a private company that tracks jobs. And the reason why we're sharing these private job tracking systems with you is because the Bureau of Labor Statistics is shut down because of the government shutdown. And so the federal government's not sharing any of this information with you, but these private companies still are. And it is absolutely important for you to understand that these job numbers lost are real. They're not made up. It's not fake news. Do not listen to any of the Republicans that tell you that this stuff is made up. It's not. This is real information. And again, like I always tell all of my viewers, you are well within your rights to go in and find out this information on your own. Yes, Chat GPT and various other artificial intelligence sites track this information, and you can very easily get this information yourself. And News Nation, by the way, what happens to be a right-leaning news site, is presenting this information to you. So again, if you are a MAGA voter or a Trump voter or a Republican, and you don't necessarily trust me, Well, guess what? News Nation is reporting this information to you. So guess what? It's real. And like I said, you can go and find out this information on your own. Now, these are jobs that were lost this year to date. These jobs that we're talking about, this million plus jobs that we're talking about, also includes a lot of these jobs that were lost due to the use of AI by large corporations in this country. And make no mistake about it, these numbers are going to continue to go up the rest of this year, and in my opinion, are going to accelerate next year. More and more people are going to lose their jobs. Make no mistake about it, corporations want to become more efficient. They want to lay off people and still expect us, the regular consumer, to continue buying and purchasing products and services from them. That's not going to happen because people just simply don't have jobs. And the ones that do are going to cut back because they're worried now. This is the job market as it stands now. All right, so next up is the Treasury sell-offs. Then when I talk about Treasury sell-offs, I'm talking about U.S. Treasuries. The Treasury Department will sell bonds. They tend to sell bonds to everyday Americans, investors here at home, domestically, and abroad to various sovereign nations that will buy Treasury bonds from the United States of America. But instead of the Treasury being able to sell Treasuries, people and entities and governments and companies and investors who typically would buy U.S. Treasuries are not buying them anymore. In fact, what they're doing, they are selling them off. China is selling Treasuries. Japan is selling Treasuries. The EU is selling Treasuries. Investors across the globe are unloading U.S. Treasuries. And the argument that a lot of economists would make was as well, if they sell all of these treasuries, the amount of money that they will earn on treasuries that they still might have are going to go down. And yes, I would tend to agree with that as an economist myself. I would agree with that, but things are different right now. And the reason why things are different right now is because guess what? All of these from sovereign wealth funds and various countries and investors for the 401ks and stuff like that, they're not buying U.S. Treasuries anymore and are trying to sell them off because they see the United States of America as a bad bet right now. The USA is a bad bet right now. And one of the most important reasons why the United States is bad bet right now is because of this guy right here. This idiot that you're seeing right here. Yes, that's Trump. He's in charge. He has no idea how the economy works. Despite all the lies that he might tell you, he knows nothing about the United States economy or how the global economy works. He has no idea what he's talking about. And so instead of boning up and learning a little bit more about how things go, he just lies about it. And the other reason why a lot of these entities that would typically buy U.S. Treasuries because they see it as a safe haven, instead they are unloading Treasuries right now because they see the United States of America as a bad bet. And the reason why we are a bad bet is because of this clown that you see in the picture. This man, his chaos, his bad policies, the sycophants that he has surrounded himself with, that are only going to tell him glowing remarks about how great he is because he's that shallow, right? They're not going to tell him the truth about the economy. So in his head, in his pea brain mind, he believes things are great. which is the reason why he keeps telling everybody, stop talking about affordability. Everything is affordable. It's not. And we're going to present everything to you as to the reason why it's not. This man, in his policies, in his chaos, in various other aspects of the treasury and the banking system, all points to the same thing. And that thing is that United States of America is broke right now. And this man and the people that he has surrounded himself with are only going to make it worse. In fact, they are making it worse. And at the moment right now, there is no way the United States of America is ever going to pay off its bills, ever. We're treading water and we're sinking at the same time. You ever tried to tread water and you put a weight on you and it's weighing you down and you're trying to keep your head above water? Well, that's what's happening with the United States right now. The United States government's broke. And if you haven't figured it out already, all of these dystopian ideas that they're trying to implement, all the stuff that they're trying to do, well, because they know that the United States of America is broke, and we keep giving huge, unbelievable tax cuts to the rich in this country, to the oligarchy, as Bernie Sanders would call them. This man that's in the picture is the main reason why the United States of America right now is a straight up bad bet. Nobody wants to give us money. And it's because of this clown right here and his policies. So let's dig a little bit deeper into this, right? So let's take a look at exactly what all of us are up against economically in this country, starting with the debt to GDP growth. GDP is gross domestic product. This is the amount of economic growth that we have throughout a year. And then the debt to GDP growth, you have growth, and then how much of that growth is debt? So the highest point on this graph back in the 1940s, right here, we will say that our debt to GDP growth was 110%. In other words, the debt was 110% of the GDP growth around World War II. And of course, that makes sense, right? Because a lot of countries were in debt trying to fight this world war. But if we come all the way over here to where we are right now, 2025, we're not that far off from that 110% of GDP growth. They're 110% in terms of debt to the GDP growth. And by 2030, that's 5 years from now, we are going to be pretty close to 120% of debt to GDP growth. We owe more money than our economy is growing. Let me say that one more time. We owe more money than what our economy is growing. So let's look at it from a personal finance point of view. You make I don't know, $85,000, but you are in debt of $185,000. You owe more in debt than what you got coming in. By the way, for an individual, that is unsustainable. Eventually, your house of cards collapses, and eventually, what you're going to do is probably file for bankruptcy. Well, if we take a look at the chart again, we cannot keep this up. 120% of debt to GDP growth is unsustainable. And that's what it's going to look like by 2030. Do not forget that the tax cuts that Trump did in his first term, those tax cuts became permanent in his big, beautiful bill. We call it the big, ugly bill because it's basically they're just taking money out of the pockets of the poor. And when I say the poor, I'm talking about everybody. The 90% that's not part of that upper 10%, that's the poor. That's all of us. Our degree of poor is different, right? We got extremely poor people, and then we have other poor people who are really struggling to keep their head above water with that weight around their waist called debt. This is unsustainable. So let us take a good look of what that really looks like. Now, coming to the right side of this graph, December of 2024, our total debt was $36.171 trillion. $36.171 trillion. That was December of last year. This year, it's a lot worse. I'm waiting, of course, the Bureau of Labor Statistics and a lot of the government agencies that would track all of the economic data, they're all shut down right now. So once that comes back up and it is transparent, that number of $36.171 trillion of debt is going to go up. So just to give you a general idea, from 2019, it was the debt was $22.314 trillion. Do not forget, in 2019, Donald Trump is president. He is ousted in 2020. And then, of course, what also happens in 2020, we have COVID. And during that time, in order to try and keep the economy afloat, the government, that i.e. Joe Biden, gave the American people money to spend because we didn't have money to spend to keep the economy afloat until things got better. And that's the reason why it grew from $22 trillion to $28 trillion here in 2021. Mind you, though, the debt limit increased to $2.5 trillion. The debt limit was suspended in 2023, et cetera, et cetera. These numbers are unsustainable no matter what we try to do. The only way that we're going to be able to fix that is, yes, to cut spending. Okay. Spending does need to be cut, but we also need to raise taxes. And the taxes that need to be raised are on the wealthy 10%. I hate to say this. I have some friends of mine that are, particularly wealthy, and they're going to have to pay more in taxes. I'm sorry, they have to pay more in taxes. And we'll show you the reason why they should be paying more in taxes. Okay. So there's a lot of money that we owe. We're not ever going to be able to pay that off unless we do some major changes in how the government's run. And by comparison, the federal government is $36 trillion in debt. But if we take a look at the overall consumer debt in the United States of America, we are not that much better off. We, as American consumers, also in total owe $18.2 trillion worth of debt. And that as per this particular graph from Q1 of 2025, the first quarter of 2025. I'm going to let all of you know right now, this kind of debt is unsustainable. And by the way, guess what? My household, my wife and I, we are here carrying a lot of debt too. And we're carrying a lot of debt because of COVID. I mean, yes, a lot of consumers lost jobs. They weren't working, by no fault of their own. I mean, we had the shutdown, so people couldn't work. But when people could not work, that doesn't mean that those debts went away. They were still there, and they're still with us today. I'm still trying to pay down debt that was accumulated by my household from the pandemic. We're still trying to pay that money down. Okay. And look, a lot of this debt comes from credit card debt, student loan debt. Oh my God, student loan debt. I can tell you right now, like I said, I'm 67. I'm never, ever going to be able to pay off that student loan of mine. The student loan of mine that I have right now is around $250,000. That's right. I said that, around $250,000. I'm never going to be able to pay all that debt off, regardless of what I try to do. I can pay payments towards it, but it's never going to get paid off. I'll die before that happens, which is the reason why I believe that higher education for the American people should be free. We should be paying for it. But a lot of people had to pay for that because they're not wealthy. They don't have wealthy fathers and mothers and fathers, grandfathers and great grandfathers, et cetera, et cetera. We work hard. A lot of you who are listening also work hard. And a lot of you who are watching and listening right now probably know exactly what I'm talking about because you have a lot of student loan debt yourself. Okay. And then you have automobile loans, et cetera, et cetera. And I do want to kind of mention a little bit about this credit card debt. As you can see, it has grown significantly, $1.18 trillion credit card debt. The reason why credit card debt is growing and going unpaid is because a lot of people who are getting out these credit cards are paying astronomical amounts of interest on the debt itself. Okay. And look, paying a minimum payment on a credit card, it depends on how much it is, how much interest you're paying on it. In most cases, you're never, ever, ever going to pay it off, which is the reason why a lot of people, run up the debt and they never pay it. And why are they running up the debt? Because they're using credit cards to try and live because they're not making enough money. Okay. These corporations want the American people to continue to spend money, which is the reason why you see so many ads, right? But they don't want to pay anybody. So what do? They convince you to take out a loan, which puts you in debt, and whereas you're never going to be able to pay that money back. And then guess what? These same corporations, if you got laid off, which I guess what is happening to people right now, and you tried to get another job, they're going to look at your credit history and say, oh, well, no, we don't want you working for us because you're in a lot of debt. Well, they do this on purpose to get you in debt to keep you under their thumb. All of this is connected. Okay. All of it's connected. It is important for you to understand how the game is played. So, consumer spending, as because of layoffs, high prices, uncertainty in the marketplace, consumer spending has plummeted over the past couple of years. And the reason why is prices are too high. There's too much chaos in the marketplace. We already know where all the chaos comes from. It comes from the executive branch, President Trump himself, because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's not only doesn't know what he's doing, he's cruel at the same time. And so he is making people's lives miserable on purpose. And as a result of that, consumers are just saying, you know what? I'm not spending any money. I'm not spending any money. And this particular chart shows how much it has plummeted. And not only is the consumer spending plummeting, so is GDP. Isn't that interesting? So the American consumer is getting it. Things are rough right now. There's a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace. I think I need to save more money. But do not forget, we've had well over 1 million Americans lose their jobs. They don't have any money to spend in the first place. Okay, so this is the reason why the spending is plummeting right now. And these tariffs are increasing prices for the American consumer. Everything is going against us, the American consumer. That's you, that's me. It's all of us who are not part of the 10%, the wealthy 10%. And by the way, by contrast to that, the wealthy 10% are the only ones that are doing the spending right now. And why? Because they have the money to do so. They have the money to spend. But again, like I said, that's the 10%. We're talking what, 5 to 10 million people? What's happening to the other 340 to 45 million Americans in this country? They're having a hard time of it. And so, yeah, they're cutting back on their spending. And also, let us take a look at our consumer sentiment over the past 10 years. That's from 2016 to late 2025. And as you can see in this graph, goes up and down, up and down. And here in 2020, you can see where the consumer sentiment has plummeted, but it didn't go down as far as you would think because people were still hopeful that once COVID was gone, that they would get back into the marketplace and the sentiment would go up. And as you can see right here, it did go up, right? But do not forget from 2020 to about, let's see here, 2022, it went up, and then prices started to spike, and so consumer sentiment went down. But this is really important to understand. As the Biden administration was trying to get a handle on inflation, consumer sentiment started to creep up, but not fast enough to where Joe Biden or Kamala Harris would have been reelected. Okay. But also, mind you, consumer sentiment is still well down from its highs here between the time frame of 2016 to 2020. Okay, it has plummeted and has stayed down with some marginal recovery, but it's still down from those highs of 2016 between 2016 and 2020. And if you look here in 2025, it's going off a cliff. The lowest that it was in this 10-year period was June of 2022, down to 50%. If you look at it right now, we are down to 50.3%. It's close to its lowest level in this 10-year period. And the other thing that's important about this 10-year period is that this is the 10-year period where Trump had come onto the scene. His chaos, the way he operates, has upset the whole economic system. And so consumer spending is down because of his chaos and his policies, i.e., the last chart, right? Consumer spending is down. And then we go to the next chart, match that with consumer sentiment. Well, no wonder the economy is contracting in such a way that it is. Okay. But I want to show you something that is very, very important. And that is doing a comparison contrast with Democrats who are in power versus those Republicans who are in power. And the very first one I want to show you is job growth per party, right? Job growth from 1977 through February of 2024, job growth under the Democratic Party has far exceeded job growth under Republicans. And by the way, just in case you didn't know this information was presented to you during the campaign of 2024. This information was presented to you during the campaign of 2024. And this is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, right? Which is an independent government agency, which of course Trump has fired because he didn't like the numbers. But this is exactly what the growth looks like per party. The Democratic Party, when they are in leadership, has far exceeded the amount of jobs that are added uh, to the marketplace by Republicans. It's near 60 million for Democrats, and what, less than around 16 to 15 million. There's no comparison. This graph all by itself would be enough for me to always vote for the Democrats. I'm just saying. Okay. And by the way, this is really important. The American people, when they go out and vote, they vote with their pocketbooks and their wallets. How am I doing economically? And unfortunately, I don't think that the American people in this past election in 2024 paid enough attention to this to say, you know what, maybe we should give Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, depending on who it's going to be, give them another 4 years to dig us out of the hole that we had gotten ourselves into, which, by the way, was not dug by Democrats. The hole was dug by Republicans. COVID happened under Trump. His chaos and his incompetence in dealing with COVID is the reason why we ended up having the contraction in economic activity like we did. It's because of COVID and because of the Republican Party who was in charge at the time. And then Joe Biden, bless his heart, was trying to dig the country out of it. And he was on his way to doing so, just not fast enough for the American people. So what did they do? They went and voted. And the guy who destroyed the last economy. Oh, how quickly we forget. But Democratic leadership is always better for job growth, way better than Republicans. Let's take a look at economic growth per party president. So these are the numbers since Reagan, okay? Reagan, in terms of his economic growth when he was in office for the 8 years, back in the 80s, I remember the Reagan years. I was in the Coast Guard at the time, and he has a growth record of 31%. Not bad. His successor, Herbert Walker Bush, was only 8%. By the way, Herbert Walker Bush also flat out gave away the game and said to everybody, I'm going to have to raise y'all's taxes. Well, bad timing, Herbert Walker Bush. You're trying to raise taxes when the economy is contracting. No, that's not a good idea, which is the reason why he ended up becoming a one-term president. The greatest growth of all was under Clinton. My man, Bill Clinton, outpaced even Ronald Reagan at 34%. W destroyed that economy. It had a growth of only 15%, started 2 wars. You get the picture, right? Are you getting the picture of what happens under these Republican presidents? They tend to fuck everything up, excuse my language, but they do. Obama, who succeeds W. Bush, had a growth rate of 19%. That would have been a time for me, as far as I'm concerned, to give him another term. Okay. He had some significant growth, right? But not as good as Clinton, not as good as Reagan, but respectable nonetheless. And then Trump comes in and destroys the Obama economy. Everything bad that you could have thought of in Trump's first term, it happened. Okay. The economy contracted. His chaos dominated the news. And then, of course, COVID happened and he was voted out of office. But yet at the same time, even though he was out of office, he kept making noise, and just literally we have not been able to get rid of him because he's a force. I hate to say it, but he really is. He's a force. And then Biden took over and had a 10% growth in his 4 years. which was better than Trump's first 4 years. And if Biden Harris would have been given the opportunity, I believe that their growth would have probably been the same as Obama's, maybe even better. But if you take a look and you compare and you add up the growth records between these modern era presidents, guess what? The Democrats do better than Republicans. They grow the economy. Republicans destroy economies, with the exception of Reagan. And I got some issues with Reagan myself, so that's another video. But the Democrats tend to be better stewards of the economy than Republicans. And the reason why they tend to be better stewards of the economy than Republicans, because they tend to focus their policies on everyday Americans. Everyday Americans drive the global economy. And yes, I said global. I didn't mince words. The global economy, because the kind of spending that we do grows economies across the globe. That's the reason why Democrats tend to do better, because they focus on the right people. Republicans focus on the rich, the oligarchy. The oligarchy only cares about accumulating wealth for themselves at the expense of the people. This is the reason why you see the graphs the way that they are. So now let's take a look at taxes. Taxes. Now this particular graph seems a little bit confusing, and I'm going to explain it to you the best way I can. If we take a look at this graph, and this was in 2018, this little plot, this dot chart. Here's the lower income. This is the effective tax rate right here, between 20 and 30% of the lower income bracket. That is, people who are at the bottom of the food chain economically. And then you have those in the 20 to 30, the 40 to 50, 60, you get it, et cetera, et cetera. And then we come over here to the high end. This is a graph from 2018. And this is the effective tax rate for the wealthiest 400 households paid a lower tax rate than any other group. In fact, these people here in 2018 are paying a less effective tax rate than the very poor. You see that? The very poor are paying more in taxes than the wealthiest 400 families in America. And in fact, I would make the argument that the poor are paying more taxes than most of these people on this plot chart. Of course, it didn't always used to be that way. Back in the heyday, when the American economy was the healthiest that it was and growing as fast as it was by comparison in the 1950s and 60s, well, guess what? The wealthy were paying a lot more in taxes. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Mind you, they were still wealthy. They were still able to buy everything that they ever wanted for themselves and their families and their friends, but they paid more in taxes. And even though they paid more in taxes, they stayed wealthy because all of these other Americans that were doing better also during this time were paying less in taxes and sending their kids to college on one job. They had union jobs. They were making more money. The wealth gap was much smaller at this particular time. And then in 1978, you see the plot graph here. It gets worse, right? But if you look at where we are right now, there is something wrong. How in the world is the wealthiest of the Americans in 2018 paying a lot less in taxes than those who are at the bottom, who can't afford to feed themselves, to house themselves, right? Who are actually working and they need to get food stamps. They are actually working and they need Medicaid. Okay. The reason why this graph is very important is because it gives you a glimpse of where we are right now. And the reason why I keep telling you that the real enemies of this whole system are these people that are on the right side of the graph that are paying less in taxes than, say, you and me. Okay. Which is the reason why you hear the new terminology, eat the rich. Well, yeah, that's the reason why we're saying it, right? Mark Zuckerberg pays less in taxes per capita than I do. And I don't make hardly any kind of money that Mark Zuckerberg's making, or Elon Musk, who was just given a pay package of $1 trillion. That's obscene. Who does that? Is that man really worth $1 trillion? He's a drug addict, for God's sake. He stays on ketamine. He's sick. Is he really worth $1 trillion? I think not. But you get a sense of where we are right now. Okay? The rich are paying less in taxes than us. And the tax breaks that they got in 2018 are now permanent. And knowing Trump, he's going to do everything he can to give himself, because he's part of that wealthy 1%, and he's still enriching himself as president, which is illegal. You're not allowed to do that, but he's doing it. I would make the argument that Donald Trump really is a billionaire right now because he has fleeced the system. And make no mistake about it, he is definitely stealing tax dollars from the American people to enrich himself. I guarantee it. Okay. So, I mean, this is kind of where we are. And so, in me painting this picture for you, what do you see? Now that I have painted this economic picture for you, what do you see? I can show you what the rest of the world already sees. They see a regime that could give a hoop-de-doo about anybody, and they don't want any of these people anywhere around them and theirs. This cartoon says, "Go home, we don't want y'all here." Pull out a mask. The clown in chief on Time magazine. I mean, come on, y'all. JD Vance, Mr. Smokey, Smokey Eye himself. By the way, this is a this is from one of the Chinese newspapers. This is what they think about him. And then you have the chaos between Elon Musk and Scott Bessent. That's Scott Bessent right there, where they had this blow up. By the way, these are people that are supposed to be running the country. And they literally wanted to fight each other because they disagreed on something, which, by the way, they both belong to the same class, the 1%. And they're fighting with each other. They care less about anybody else. And they are chaotic. They are ridiculous. They are evil. They are disgusting. They are, I mean, they're clownish. What else can I say? Make America a laughing stock again. Well, guess what? That is exactly what America is right now. And if you couple all of this with everything that I just shared with you just now, the country going broke, you going broke, what actually is happening or is going to happen with us over the next year, let alone this one? This year is not even over. And these people remain in power for another year. How much more damage can they actually do? Which brings me to this. Now that you know the story, and of course, yes, I could go on uh, longer with a lot more economic information. This stuff really turns me on. I love economics, and this is the reason why I like talking about it. But now that you know what I've given you, and of course, you are welcome to go ahead and do your own research, but make sure that that research that you're doing is giving you the facts and the truth. Don't go to Fox News to do your research. They're not going to tell you the truth. Okay. But now that you know the whole story, who do you believe? Do you believe the Trump administration and all the lies that they tell you, because they are lying to you? Or do you believe your own eyes? Or do you believe how quickly the money in your wallet, in your pocketbook disappears every pay cycle? Are you going to believe that, or are you going to believe the lies that they're trying to tell you? That forget about affordability. Everything's affordable. No, it's not. Are you going to believe the reality, or are you going to believe the lies now that you know the story? Stop. I'm going to beat it like a dead horse. Stop voting for Republicans. They do not care about you or me. Start voting in your own best self-interest and participate in the economic blackout, which starts November 25th and runs through December 2nd. Now you know the whole story. That's it for me this afternoon. I'm Dr. C. Thanks for joining me on From Where I Sit. Of course, I get back out on the road. You know, Dr. Scott drives a truck for fun. And I'll be back out on the road. And so I'll be giving you guys some shorts as we progress through the week and the rest of the month. So please definitely join me for those short videos. And yes, become a subscriber if you haven't done so already. Comment. I definitely welcome all your comments. I do respond to the comments. And definitely keep watching these videos. I am close to 10,000 views. I never thought I'd get here. I was just doing this as a hobby, but it looks like it's turning out to be something that I could be doing for, I mean, a content creator. Oh my God, whoever knew? Anyway, it's exciting for me to present this information to you. Like I said, I am a retired college professor, and it is my pleasure to share this education with all of you. If you have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to comment on all of the videos that I put up, and continue to watch. And I will see you on our next video. You guys have a great evening.